Damn, we're old.
Oh my God, seriously. I'm turning 30 in a little over a
Oh,
month.
I'm already there, buddy.
You're already there.
Yeah, in August I'll be 31. So
Oh, you got the earlier birthday. Yeah, I was always on the younger side, but
yeah, I think I was one of the older people probably in our grade at the time. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't feel, to be honest, when you turn 30, it's kind of the same.
That's what I
It's
figured. It's just
yeah,
another number, but
yeah. You just can't say you're in your 20s anymore, which kind of sucks. But
you just can't say you're 20 something anymore.
yeah,
Yep.
my wife and I, we just got a Peloton, and like on the bikes, it'll say like what age you are. It says 20s, 30s, 40s. It doesn't.
Uh,
So it sucks because it's like mine says 30s. So they could think, oh, this guy's probably like 35. But
38,
it's like, no,
yeah.
I'm 30.
I'm
But then
30,
my
barely.
wife just is turning 29 this week, and
Oh,
she gets
nice.
the benefit of having the 20s for a little bit longer.
A little
But
bit longer, yep. Oh
so
my gosh.
yeah, but
It's all
that's
about how you feel.
it is. Yeah, you just got to act young. You got to keep exercising, and do what you love, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bright Connections. I'm your host, BK. Joining me this week is Andy Hughes. Andy is the host of his own podcast, go figure. So we're a fellow podcaster at Let's Be Real podcast, right, Andy? And
Yep.
so, Andy, if you want to talk about your podcast for a minute here and let us know what that's all about.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Brian.
Okay.
It's awesome to see you after all these years. And
Yep.
but yeah, the Let's Be Real podcast. It's something I've been doing for about a year or two now. It's mainly about leadership, empathy, drive, learning, things like that. I basically interview different leaders around the world, whether it be at a technology company or even people in sports. So definitely check it out. We have interviews with Doc Emmerich, Michael McHenry, Sean Casey. We've had some pretty cool athletes on. So it's a great conversation, honestly, to talk with leaders around the world, talk about their experiences, and it kind of fits. It's similar topics with your podcast, which is why I love it too. It's definitely a podcast that I love, and I'm honored to be on. But yeah, Let's Be Real is just pretty much about leadership and empowerment, those types of topics. And it's just kind of like a recorded conversations, not heavily scripted by any means. We're just pretty much talking like we are here,
Right.
just having a conversation. So definitely check it out. And like I said, I'm really excited to be on here on Bright Connections.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on. So, and what's funny is that, Andy reached out to me a couple weeks ago and he said, heck, Andy and I went to the same high school. So that's how we know each other. And we haven't really talked for 12 years now since high school. And he reached out to me and he said, I saw that you have this podcast and I really like it and I'd like to be on it. And so in a way, this Bright Connections is once again doing its thing, bringing people back together. And I'm so happy to see that it's doing that. So it's good to see you, Andy. Again, glad to have you on. And well, you've had some big name people on your podcast, that's for sure. So
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I mean, I think the thing with Bright Connections is, there's a lot of people out there that want to help each other and help people. And so I'd encourage anyone that's doing a podcast, don't ever feel like you have to be like hesitant to reach out to a guest like that, because a lot of the times they're willing to help you out, and they'll say yes. And you can have a pretty cool guest on your podcast. So no, and like you said, connections, it's funny, we haven't talked in all these years, but I came across it on your Facebook, and I started listening to it, and I didn't realize how similar our paths were.
Yeah.
Like, I know you had mentioned in the one episode that you wanted to be like a professional athlete at one point. I was the same way. I wanted to be a baseball player. And then in high school, I realized that probably wasn't going to happen. So I started looking into the media aspect of things, and eventually went to college for radio and TV, and got an internship with the Penguins Radio Network. And I still do a little work there part-time. I think it's just kind of funny the way things work out sometimes in that way, where I feel like if anyone's watching from our class of Peters Township, if you put a list together of the most likely people to host a podcast, we'd probably be pretty low on that list, to be honest with you.
It definitely would not have been. It definitely would not have been me. Yeah, yeah, you're probably on the more quiet and
oh yeah,
to yourself side, back in high school too, and I definitely was as well. That's a really funny point that you say that. Yeah, on those end of the yearbook stuff, where who's likely to be this or who's likely to be that. Yeah. I don't think we would have been there.
No. But you know what? It's I was definitely on the shy side in high school, and I don't think anyone would have expected, me to have a podcast. Who knows? People listening, this is probably the most they've heard me talk ever just on this podcast right now. So,
hey.
But you know what? It's growth. I think high school, it was a tough time. Just moving from a new school district and had a lot going on at the time. And so, but yeah, it's been great. I'm really excited to be on here, and it's nice that we were able to kind of reconnect here through this podcast, and we found out that we live pretty close to each other as well. So there you go.
That's right. We live in the almost like the exact same I live in an apartment, he lives in a townhouse like a minute away, and it's just like what? Crazy small world. Absolutely small world. Yeah. So what we want to talk about this episode, some nice big events that happened this last week. Sidney Crosby hit his 1,000th game in the NHL. So we want to talk about that, and then kind of just, again, go with the status of the NHL right now and where they're at, and where they're going with everything. And then also want to kind of touch on the Mars Rover landing. That happened this last week, or maybe a little over a week ago. I'm not sure, but it's just a huge step for humankind. It got a little bit of recognition, but I feel like it should have really got a little bit more. It's just it's such an amazing feat, a really cool story. Just a crazy idea to think what they did to get this to work. So I just want to touch on that. I think, like Andy and I both said, it's just a really cool aspect thinking about a rover going on its own to Mars. So we definitely want to touch on that as well. So, but to start, we're huge Pens fans. As Andy mentioned, he even, works with the Pens a little bit on the radio and everything. So Crosby's 1,000th game in the NHL occurred this last week. What an amazing feat, and so good to see a guy like that be able to hit a milestone, so significant. There's not many people that hit a lot of games in the NHL, especially 1,000, and especially to be able to do it with one franchise, and to do it as like the captain of the team for the entirety of your play in the NHL, and just awesome story. So definitely want to touch on that. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have happened to a better person. Sidney Crosby is just as good of a person as he is player. And if you think about the amazing players that we've been able to see with the Penguins, when you think of Lemieux, Yager, Ron Francis, Paul Coffey, there's all these like unreal names. Yeah. We've been so spoiled here in Pittsburgh when it comes to hockey. And it is surprising, though, when you think about it, that he is the first member of the Penguins to play 1,000, like with the franchise.
It really is.
But I guess when you think about it too, obviously Mario Lemieux, he had so many health issues, and if it wasn't for that, he probably would have been, at way past 1,000 with the Penguins. And Yager, I think he played somewhere around 800, I believe, with the Penguins, but obviously with the financial issues that the Penguins had at the time, they had to trade him, and he's still playing somehow. I'm not sure how he's doing that. He's
like, isn't he like almost 48 or isn't like 48 or something?
Yeah, he's approaching 50, if not. Yeah, I can't remember, but it's unbelievable.
It's absolutely insane. That he's still playing.
It's so funny because everyone talks about like, when are they going to retire Yager's number? And it's like, well, he kind of has to stop playing first before you can do that.
Yeah, right.
Like he can't just fly over to Pittsburgh if he owns and plays for a team. You know what I mean? So but yeah, I mean, just when you think about the history of this team, and also where Sid was at one point after the concussions, and it brings you back to Mario. Like, is this going to happen again? Like, are we going to have somebody that comes in assaults the league, basically does everything, that you want out of a player.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to break all the records, even despite playing in an era where, everyone is a lot faster and the goalie pads are a lot bigger. And all of a sudden you see this concussion and he misses half of a season. And then the next season he misses some time, and
Yep.
you don't really know like when he's going to come back. And if he comes back, is he going to be the same player? And
Right.
the fact that he was able to just get around all of that and play the way that he has, and being a leader that he has, it's really impressive. And, like I said, he's not only is he a tremendous player, but he's also a tremendous person. And it was just great to see him become the first person in the Penguins franchise to play 1,000 with Pittsburgh, because it honestly couldn't have happened to a better person and a better leader that the Pittsburgh community can look up to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, like, I know they talked about, how he's always willing to, come on for an interview, post game, between intermissions and stuff, no matter what the score is, no matter how the team's doing, good or bad. He's there to talk with, with the announcers, with the media, whoever it may be, and just always, always willing to sacrifice his time. Whether or not his team's getting destroyed 7-0 and he doesn't want to talk, he still takes the time to do so. So it just speaks to his, personality, and his willingness to continue to just be a leader, like you mentioned, not only for the team, but for the community as well. And then you also mentioned his injuries, and they talk about, how his concussion really kind of ramped up the, like research and doctors and everything looking into the impact of concussions and how they can try to prevent them and do better by the players with concussions and other types of injuries. So he not only, unfortunately, it had to come to that, him getting injured like that, for them to look into it further, but he was kind of a cornerstone for concussion prevention or
Oh yeah,
recovery.
100%. Yeah. And it's a great point. I think at that time when that had happened, people knew about concussions, but I don't think people took them as serious as they should have. I mean, I remember I've heard stories from hockey players from like the 70s, and they'd get knocked out and they'd be coming out the next shift, and they never thought about anything. And then it's sad to see some of these players that played in that era, they have brain damage, and they can't do normal things that normal people are able to do, unfortunately. So it's definitely a serious topic. And I think when Sid went through that, it was definitely hard for him. I can remember being in the locker room. That was the year I was an intern that year. And I remember him just sitting in the locker room, just hanging out with the guys, like after a morning skate, and people would say, do you have an update? And Sid would just be like, no, I don't have an update. Like, there's no reason for me to do a media scrum right now, because I'm just kind of hanging out. So you could tell it was eating him up, though. I mean, the guy breathes hockey, like he lives for it. And for him to go through that, I'm sure it took a toll on him mentally. But I think that he became stronger and he became smarter because he started to listen to his body. Because I think at one point he actually came back for a little bit, and then I think it was David Krejci from the Bruins hit him, and he had symptoms again. So he ended up going out again, and he just took it slow, wanted to make sure everything was okay. And I know that he gave a lot of credit to the UPMC doctors, which I guess at the time it was actually maybe a good thing that he was in Pittsburgh, because of the medical people that we have in Pittsburgh, specifically with concussions. So, I think after the sports world saw that and how long Sid was out, I think people started to really take concussions a lot more serious. And it led to a lot of like rules and regulations regarding, concussions, with concussion protocols and all of those things. So, it's great to see that Sid was able to get through it, but I think a lot of people learned a lot about concussions throughout the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I think the way and the way that, like you said, the way he took it slow, I think was such a not a valuable thing, but a noble thing to do. Because, like you said, he lives and breathes hockey. He wanted to come back, but you just gotta take your time with that kind of stuff and just let it run its course, and just make sure you're especially if you want to be in the league for a long period of time.
Yeah.
If you rush it back, you're just gonna, you got the chance to do more damage. And I think that's also something that a lot of people take for granted is the amount of risk that these, not only hockey players, but really any sport,
Yeah.
the risk that they take going out there day in, day out, week in, week to week, whatever it may be, just putting their body on the line, literally.
Mm-hmm.
There's not only a good chance for injury, but like you said, brain damage and all this other stuff that could affect them later on in life. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that. They kind of just, they throw that by the wayside and just think, oh, well, he's a little banged up. Well, he'll get over it.
Yeah.
Think about how much wear and tear they're going through playing a game for 60 minutes like that. Just,
Oof.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's definitely a lot. I mean, like you said, I mean, every time these guys go on the ice, there's a chance that they might get an elbow to the head, like they might get hit by a puck, like in the eye, like you just never know. Like,
right.
So, these guys get paid a lot of money, but they do put their lives on the line and their bodies on the line, a lot of training and, a lot of diets too. And so they put a lot into this. And I think that does, it's part of the kind of an underrated part of the sport is just like the preparation that they go through and just all of that. And even when you think about it too, I can remember in 2010 going to a game against the old Atlanta Thrashers that rest in peace. In 2010, Sid had a hat trick in the game, and he was playing like his best hockey I'd ever seen. And it was only in 2010. So it was somewhat early, and he had already had 100-point seasons by then, but I think he had like a 25 game point streak or something like that year. And then he ended up getting that concussion, in the Winter Classic and all that. So it was just a shame, the timing of it, because he was going to run away with the scoring title and everything. And I think he actually ended up still leading the Penguins in points despite missing like half the season that year, which is insane.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's incredible what these guys do and how they prepare and putting their bodies on the line every single day. And they definitely love the game. They're willing to do that. But you definitely have to think about that and empathize with them a little bit. Because as you said, sometimes that happens where someone gets hurt and they're like, oh, they're a hockey player. They'll get over it. But these guys are humans too.
Right.
I mean, they have families, they have, their parents, and they're just human beings like we all are. They're just hockey players. So I think sometimes we lose sight of that, just thinking about like our love for the game. And, obviously, we love to see when the Pens win, but we also want our players to be healthy and have good lives too. And especially a guy like Sid, who's such a great leader.
Right. Absolutely. And I think, again, going back to just how much preparation they put in, and, for anybody that works hard at something, these guys aren't an exception. They might have been blessed with some talent, but they still put so much time and effort into improving themselves and keeping their body in shape. And you can't just take it for granted that they're working just as hard, if not harder than anybody else at what they do. And it's just amazing. Like you said, the preparation and the recovery after games. I'm sure, they can probably do ice baths and all this other kind of recovery stuff. So, a lot of hard work, and they should be applauded for that just as much as anybody else that works their butt off for what they do. So, so they had a tribute for Crosby, on his 1,000th game. And, it was a really nice video. They had his parents on, his sister. His parents might not have been the best at doing video calls. You could tell they were a little awkward, but it was still touching. It was still a nice little tribute to Crosby, showing some of his big moments in his career, some of his big time games, his milestone games. But then they gave him like a little like a little plaque or like a photo or all like a picture of all his games or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a picture with like all of his games, put it together. That was pretty neat. And Yeah, that was a cool moment. It's one of those things where I was thinking about like being there for like the Phil Kessel and Marc-Andre Fleury tributes, like when they came back. And
Right.
it's a shame that we couldn't have fans in that building, because I would have loved to have seen the
Yeah.
ovation that Crosby would have gotten. But obviously, it's understandable with the pandemic going on.
Right.
But I think that the Penguins always do a really good job with those videos. I mean, they have an amazing staff that
Mhm.
works really hard on that. And yeah, it was funny with the parents. I could definitely tell they did a few takes
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised to see Sid's sister on there, because I think he has some kind of, Sid with his weird superstitions. He has some superstition where he like can't talk to his sister on game days or something, because he got hurt like every time he talked to
Oh,
something
wow.
weird like that. I can't remember what it was. I guess technically he wasn't talking to her. It was just a video. So maybe that's how he snuck that in
So
there.
he
But
went around that. Yeah. Loophole on that
yeah,
one.
so maybe, but yeah, that was really cool. It was a nice touch with adding the family, and it sucks that the family couldn't be there either. That's always a
Right.
bummer.
Yeah.
I think the real cool thing too was that they got a lot of videos from guys like Mario and Letang and Malkin. I mean, the Letang and Malkin videos were very emotional.
Yes.
Just everything that they've gone through together, winning the 3 cups. And I know that Sid had alluded to Gino actually being emotional on the ice when the video was rolling
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah, so it was definitely an emotional night, I think, for everyone. And he was even cool too to see videos from guys like McDavid and Ovechkin and even Steve Yzerman
Yeah.
too, who
His idol.
right. So I think that was cool. When Sid saw that, he was definitely excited about seeing Steve Yzerman. So it was definitely a really cool night. It was nice to see that the Penguins got the win as well that night, and just a really memorable night, especially for a tough year where we've had a lot of tough things that have happened around the world. It was a nice night to honor someone who has meant so much to the not only the Penguins but just the Pittsburgh community.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. No. Even got a little, little teary eyed.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen Sid, that emotional like that, honestly. But you could tell it meant a lot to him. And like you said, with the Letang and Malcolm videos, Letang mentioned, whatever happens, the rest of our career, the rest of our lives, I know that I found a lifelong friend in you, and that was just
Mm-hmm.
hearing that from Letang was awesome. You could tell, like Gino, Gino being Gino, though. Honestly, I want more goals and I want more cups.
Yeah, I think he said something at the end. He said, "Pass me puck" or something like that, which is
Yeah,
just a typical Gino thing to do. He's
it
hilarious with those
is.
videos, but it's so like genuine too. Like when he
It is.
talks, it's so genuine, and I just love that about Gino. How he's just super honest, and he's real. Like he's
Yeah.
very genuine, and so is Letang too. I mean, they're both very genuine, and they all have a great relationship. And I know that ownership, ideally they'd like to keep all three of them as Penguins for forever, but we'll see if that
Right.
happens. It obviously depends on some things here in the next years, but it was really cool to just see them all there together, and kind of celebrate Sid's 1,000th game. And who knows, Gino's coming up too. I think he's at like 920 something, so he's
Yeah.
he's pretty close as well.
Yep. 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 The three best friends anyone could ask for. Those three.
Three amigos.
Three
Yep.
amigos. Yep. Yep. Just kind of going back to the impact that Sid has had, not only for the Pens, but also in the league as well. Ever since he came into the league, being this young phenom and just being this uh, person that not only Pittsburgh looked to, but the whole world, started to recognize and you know, hear about and start seeing all these amazing plays. But um, again, with his leadership and with his personality, uh, in a way, his play and his personality is kind of a model for
Yeah.
how all these younger players are measured. Are they going to be, how are you compared to Sidney Crosby, and how much of a leader, how much of a person in the community, and how much dedication you put to the game and everything. It's amazing to see that one single person. We're lucky enough to have him here in Pittsburgh, but one single person can dictate just like I said, the model for how these younger players should be, and how they're compared to, and everything. It's a really, really amazing and a humbling, I'm sure a humbling feat and title for Crosby to be able to say that, everyone's compared to me, everybody should be modeled after how I prepare myself and hold myself to a standard and everything. So really, really cool. Really cool.
It is. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it too, it's so weird now seeing like players that are drafted saying, yeah, I grew up watching Sidney Crosby, and it's just so weird now because I was looking back, like his debut was October 5th, 2005. That was our freshman year of high school, and it's just kind of wild to think back, how long it's been. But you said it, what you said was right on the money. I think he's a lead by example guy, and I think it's really contagious. If you're on a team, like if you're a role player, like a third or fourth line guy, and you see that Sid, who has unbelievable talent and already has an unbelievable legacy, is one of the greatest players of all time already. He's the one that's coming first out on the ice, and he's one of the last guys on the ice, like for practice. Like you have to stay on the ice. Like you can't leave because it makes you look bad. Like Sid, he probably doesn't need as much practice as he does, but that's just the way that he is. Like when he came into the league, he had a real like flat stick. Like he didn't have a big curve, and his shot, I mean, it was still pretty good, but it wasn't what people thought it was at first. And then, that summer after like his first couple years, he worked on his shot. He got a new stick, and all of a sudden he's scoring 50 goals. Yeah. And then the one year he struggled in faceoffs. And then that summer he worked on faceoffs in the summer. Yep. And then all of a sudden he became like a great faceoff guy. So he's super detailed, such a hard worker. He's working on every single aspect of his game. And to me, that's what a leader does, and if you're a member of that team, he's a guy that you just got to follow his lead. And, even in practice, like you can't take a day off in practice. He'll make you look silly. Like, he's not afraid to do that.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. I think I was listening to, I think it was Colby Armstrong and Max Talbot. They were talking about that, how like sometimes they would come to practice and they wanted to get off the ice. They were dead tired, but Sid was still on. And they just kind of had to keep going because, what are you going to do? Like the coach may think something about you if you leave the ice, and Sid's still out there. So right. It definitely is contagious. And I think it's been cool to see over the years too, how much of a leader he's become with new players coming in. And, Sid's always one of the first ones to send out like a text message to a new player that comes in, just the little things, that you don't really hear about too often as a captain. It's not something that he necessarily has to do, but he's just a thoughtful person like that. Extremely thoughtful. So, a lot of times when I talk about Sid, I talk about the person more than the player at times, because I've just seen so many great things that he does. And, even just little things like, someone I went to elementary school, her brother is the assistant equipment manager with the Penguins, and his wife, I think it's his wife, baked goods or something for Sid's Super Bowl party one year. And then in the 2016 and I think it was either 2016 or 2017, after, they won the cup and stuff, she had asked for a picture with Sid. And then Sid came up and was like, thanks for making those cakes for the Super Bowl party. Like it's unbelievable. Like he just won the Stanley Cup, and he's making moments for people, that just baking a cake for him. Like he's just super thankful for things like that. And it's just incredible the way that he's not only a model just on the ice, but I think off the ice too. I mean, if you think about it, the media has been after him for so long. I mean, he's just had these expectations ever since he was like, 18, even before 18 years old. Yeah. Yep. So, the fact that he's been able to meet these expectations that almost seemed impossible at the time, it's just incredible. And the fact that he's still a great player and still a great leader. I mean, it's just incredible to have him in Pittsburgh. And, it makes me thankful to be able to have seen his whole career. Both of us have had that chance to be able to watch the whole thing, where we didn't really have that chance with Mario. We didn't get to see some of those, the 90s and
prime years.
Like yeah. So, it's awesome to see that. And, I think you see guys like Connor McDavid. They always talk about how he grew up as watching Sid, and Connor McDavid's an unbelievable player too. So hasn't had the team success that Sid has had, but maybe that will come along. But Sid is definitely a guy that a lot of people look up to, not only on the ice but off the ice too.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good point. I have always heard stories of Sid, like you said, welcoming a new guy, whether it be like a call up or somebody that just got traded. He's always the first one to welcome him. Like you said, send him a text, or just when he gets in the locker room. I've heard stories of just how extremely welcoming, and how he just made you feel like a part of the team instantly.
Yep.
And then you also mentioned his work ethic, and I think that that not only could apply to NHL, and hockey players, but even just us in general. Just when you find something that you can improve, in your life or whatever you're doing, just continue to just hammer away at it, and just continue to work as hard as you can at it, and just try to improve it. Like you said, with his face-offs, or or their shot, or whatever it may be. Like I said, the same thing can apply to us in our daily lives. You continue to just work at it, and improve on it. And just, like you said, he's just a model. He's a model for how you want to be as a person. And it's just an amazing thing to see. Again, we're just super lucky to have him. So
we are. Yeah, we definitely are. And you couldn't have said it better, that it is kind of a life lesson that all of us can look at, because you're right. Even if you are gifted in certain areas, like, no one is perfect. I mean, everyone has things to work on. And no matter how talented you are, how gifted you are, you can always improve in areas. And, even when I look back at, like, we've been talking about podcasting, like when I listen to some of the podcasts that I did early on, like in college, it's totally different from what I did now. And, but it takes time, it takes work, it takes experience. I mean, you have to kind of get yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, in order to grow. You do have to push yourself a little bit. And I think that Sid has done that. He's really a guy that he could have easily said, screw the face-offs. I lead the league in points, but he wants those Stanley Cups, and he knows that those face-offs and those details in the game that can really make a difference in helping your team win. And it's the same thing in life with, work. You're much better as a team if everyone is improving, and everyone is motivated, and everyone is trying to accomplish the same goal. So, it's definitely something that can be applied to any phase in life, not only just work, but even your personal life too. I mean, it's definitely important to spend some time doing things that you love. Like, I know that, Brian, you love doing this podcast, and I agree. I'm the same way. Like, these are cool opportunities to reconnect with people and make a difference in the world. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is just making a difference in the world, and using the connections that you have to make even more connections. And you never know what it could lead to. So Sid is definitely a model to be, hard to live up to his, his expectations, I guess, and what he's done. But, it's definitely possible for anyone to just take a lesson and just look at what he's done, and really apply it, to your own life.
Absolutely. Yep. So looking back at some of the things that never fails. I always knock them out. I get too excited.
Happens to me too. I know.
But looking back at some of the biggest things that Sid really has been known for. I know we kind of mentioned a little bit with his shot, and how you said his stick was as flat as it could be when he first came in the league. That's really unheard of, because a lot of people want the curved stick to get a good snapshot, wrist shot. His was always flatter. The reason being is that he wants a good backhand. For whatever reason, his backhand shot, it's something to behold, honestly. Goalies just never could figure it out. The way he could place it with the backhand, it was crazy. I haven't seen it too much in the last handful of years, maybe, but his prime years and his younger years, he was dishing out those backhand shots left and right, and they were just like, whoa. They've got some power to them. They've got accuracy, and it's just something about them. It was just like, what? Goalies were always confused on how that shot came off a stick, and how it was, bothering before I even realized what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that goal where he did the one hand backhand and he scored, I couldn't believe that. Like, I had to like rewind, like, did I just watch that? Like, how
Yeah,
did he do that?
yeah,
Like I would guess that his backhand with one hand is probably a lot faster than me with two hands, my forehand with two hands. Like, it's just unbelievable the things
yeah,
that he does with his backhand. And I know he had tried the Michigan
yeah.
that one recent game, almost pulled it off. I was actually surprised that he tried it because I'd never seen him do that before.
No.
But
Again,
yeah,
again speak to his his attention to detail and just something new. Oh, okay, I might as well practice that and try to
yeah,
be able to do that.
it's so true.
Maybe maybe he didn't even practice it. Maybe he just again naturally just but not. No one said he probably practiced it
I'm
and
sure he did. Yeah, he probably just he saw that move by Andrei Svechnikov and was like, I got to put that in my arsenal
exactly.
sometime. So yeah, but that backhand is just I don't even have the words to describe it sometimes. It's just
No,
crazy
no,
how accurate and the velocity
yeah.
of his backhand. It's just it's unbelievable the strength that he has. And I know that he works a lot on that with his trainer Andy O'Brien. And it's yeah, it's wild to see the things that he can do
Yeah.
on the ice, let alone his forehand and his backhand. It's just like unbelievable some of the things that he's been able to do, and just the hand-eye coordination, like batting stuff out of the air and the deflections. It's just unbelievable.
His vision on the ice as
Yeah,
well is just it's crazy. Like he just
yeah,
can see it's like he could see the whole ice behind him, left, right, forward, up.
wild.
It's anything. Some of these passes that he's made over the years, and he's just there's like no look passes and stuff. It's just like no look passes in basketball. These guys are just looking here and they pass it
Yeah,
over there, and it's just like what? How did he know he was there? And it was just right on the other person's stick.
Yeah, and he makes it look so effortlessly too. Like it's
Yeah,
just he makes it look so easy, and you know that it's not easy. Yeah, and it's like looks like he has like eyes on the back of his head
yeah,
sometimes. And I remember when Billy Guerin first came to the Penguins. I remember him saying that was one of the biggest things he had to adjust with Sid was that he would be
always
like
always
waiting for a
expected.
pass. Yeah, like he would get a pass, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't ready. Like I didn't think that was possible for someone
Yeah.
to pass in that area." But now it's like you just have to be ready. If you're on Sid's line, like Gensel or Rust or those guys, I mean, they got to be ready at any time because you
Yep.
never know. The puck could be coming your way, and you better be ready to shoot the puck. So
Exactly.
it's crazy.
It is. It is. So then not only his talent, but some of the other moments in his career. Definitely the first ever Winter Classic in the NHL. The first outdoor game. That was the Winter Classic. It was back in 2008.
2008, yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
2008 again. Yeah, going all the way back there. Um, First ever Winter Classic. He got the game-winning goal in the shootout against Buffalo. Definitely one of his biggest moments. Everybody's
Yeah,
tuned in watching this outdoor game, first ever outdoor game, and game on the line. Sid comes up, makes it look easy. Puts the puck
yeah.
right in. Circles around, cheers. With hands in the air. His team comes out to greet him. It's just an iconic moment. Just another.
Yeah, it was like a snow globe moment. It was so cool. It looked like the snow coming down. And
Yep.
I remember watching that game. I think I was actually at my aunt's watching that game because it was New Year's Day and usually went to my aunt's for that. And yeah, I remember just watching that game. And that was a cool moment, just seeing the Penguins. And at the time, the Penguins were kind of like this up and coming team. They hadn't really had the playoff success just yet. They were about to that season in '08, but
Yeah.
we didn't know that at the time. And
Right.
Buffalo, I think, yeah, it was Buffalo. And then we had Ty Conklin in net, I remember.
Oh my gosh.
That was the year we had some injuries with the goalies. And yeah, that was just a cool moment. I remember it almost looked when Sid scored that, though, in the shootout, it didn't look like it went in at first. There was like a
Yeah.
pause, like even Doc Emmerich, like when he was calling the game, there was a little bit of pause. And he was like, score, like it was
Yeah.
just kind of like this little delay there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was just a cool moment. And it was cool. Again, Sid rising to the occasion. We've seen that a number of times where there's these big moments and Sid just steps up, when his team needs him. And that was just a cool opportunity, not only to like for the Pittsburgh community, but I think it was one of those games where it was kind of like you're trying to grow the game of hockey in North America, seeing this outdoor game with all of these people. It was definitely a cool spectacle, and it made sense that the NHL put Pittsburgh in it, and they couldn't have asked for a better ending to the script with
Yep.
Crosby scoring the goal.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like you said, definitely one of those moments. You could just see the excitement on his face, and just being a young kid, still a younger kid, in those days. It's just relishing in the moments. The first ever outdoor game, and your team wins it. It's just seeing, finding joy in the little moments, and connecting with your team, and everything. And it's just a really cool moment. And that was a perfect way to put it, a snow globe moment. That was awesome. Just snow coming down, and just a still photo of just Crosby cheering.
Yeah.
Coming around the corner.
It was just an incredible scene. And, obviously that wasn't their first Winter Classic. They did many more after that, but yeah, it was really cool that the Pittsburgh Penguins were in that event, and it couldn't have ended up any better. It was just it was one of those great moments that you'll always remember if you watch that game, where you were. And it was just cool to see that the Penguins were in that first game, and it was great to see that Sid had that moment. That he'll always have for the rest of his career. That's always one of those ones that they play on the highlight reel when they're looking back on his career.
Right. You got that. You've got the Stanley Cup, wins. Him hoisting up the cup. And then you also got the Olympic gold. He's done it all. He's done it all. He's won. Not only he's a winner, not only with with the Penguins, but he's a winner with his country as well. With Canada. He didn't have the winning goal, but he had the winning assist on that Olympic gold, right?
He had the goal. He won it with the goal. He had the golden goal.
He did. Yeah, because I remember he called it from. He was like he got it from McGinley. And he scored it. You're right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's so funny too, because I remember that Olympic year. How the Canadian media can be pretty harsh, and I remember Sid. I wouldn't say he was struggling, but I think people kind of expected him to light up the Olympics, and he hadn't really done that yet. And then, of course, when the team needs him, here's Sid, and it's just like a weird angle shot. It's like a typical Sid goal, just kind of around the net in a weird spot, and he just shoots it and it goes in. And I think that was the year I think Dan Bilesma was the coach for the US. And I remember Bilesma saying that when he saw Sid take the puck from that angle, he knew like, this might not end up well.
This is it. Yep, this is it. Oh man.
Yeah, it was a weird angle shot, but it was such a typical Sid goal, because I know Sid is very, like, when he practices, he likes to practice from different, like, weird angles on the ice. And that was one of those angles that he practiced a lot, was where he scored that golden goal. Obviously it was a tough moment for US hockey fans, but I guess if it was anyone that you wanted to score for Canada, it would be Sid. So it was a cool moment for Sid, and obviously for Canada. That was definitely a big party after that goal for sure, with Canada. So he's done it all. I think the only things that he hasn't really done yet, and it's possible he might still win a Selke award for the best defensive player.
Still blows my mind that he hasn't.
Yeah, he's been in the top 10, I think, a few times, but he hasn't won it. And he didn't win the Calder for Rookie of the Year because Ovechkin won it that year. But that was a crazy year. If it was any other year, Sid would have won. But obviously, Ovi had a really good year that season as well. So, but he's pretty much done it all. And but that doesn't stop him. He still wants that 4th Stanley Cup, that 5th Stanley Cup. He wants another gold medal. Like, it just doesn't stop with him.
Nope. Yeah, you mentioned the Selke. Selke is the award for the the best defensive forward, as voted on. And just another thing, speaking to Sid, his attention to not only offense, but he pays so much attention on defense as well. He's a prototypical two-way player. He does everything on both ends of the ice, offense and defense. He's always. I know our announcers and our broadcasters and everything have always said, "Oh man, he's the best. He should have won the Selke and whatnot." It's definitely difficult to see that he hasn't won it yet, because it does seem like he's been deserving of it. But I don't know. I'm sure they have all kinds of statistics and measurements to get that by. But like you said, hopefully at some point here in the towards the end of his career, he'll still find a way to get that award.
Yeah, it definitely could. A lot of times with the awards too, they look at like the whole career of the person too. Like I know you've seen that in the past where maybe in these later years when Sid may not be expected to score a ton, maybe he focuses on the defensive side and maybe he gets noticed in that. But you're right. Like, I feel like, yes, he's been in the top 10 for Selke a number of times, but for the people that watch him every game like we do and our broadcasters, I mean, you can definitely see how into it he is with like the defensive game. And he's definitely a coach's dream. He's not a guy like Phil Kessel, who I love Phil, by the way, but he's definitely not the most defensive player.
Nah.
But with Sid, he's always there. He's following the puck. If he's gonna dive to block a shot, or if the goalie's down, he's gonna dive into the net. Like, he's gonna do those little things. Sometimes it's a little scary when he does it, because you don't want him to get hurt, but it's one of those things where he's doing it for the team, and he understands that those little things are very, very important, to win. So I think at the end of the day, I mean, his game is just awesome to watch, both offensively and defensively, some of the things that he does. And hopefully it does lead to a Selke at some point. We'll see. He definitely is running out of room in his trophy case, but I'm sure he can make room somehow.
I'm sure he'd figure it out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still, even the last game, I still always see him on the back check. Just put his head down and skating as hard as he can to make an odd man situation against us even again, like, 2-on-1 to a 2-on-2. And it's amazing to see, still, again, everybody wants to say that he's older now and this and that, but he's out there. He works his butt off every time he steps on the ice. And it's amazing to see. So.
And these players are super fast now too. I mean, these guys that come out of the draft, I mean, they're so fast. It's it's unbelievable. And for Sid to be able to keep up with them at his age is incredible. I mean, I think that's the main thing that he's working on now, is just skating and the speed, because the speed of the game is it's really turned up a notch, even since he came into the league. I mean, I feel like the last few years, you see guys like McDavid and Matthews and, these guys that are just flying out there. You almost have to work on your skating at his age just to keep up with these guys. So, it's really cool to see him just develop in every area of his game and just continue to sharpen his tools. And it's just been really, really fun to watch him out there.
Absolutely. Now, lately I had somebody bring up a odd little point that they heard, an odd little rumor. That have you heard this too from rumblings? So possibility that maybe he would be traded. And thinking about it, any Pens fan is like, what are you talking about? No way. So the reasoning behind this, the person that said this, they basically said that he would be open to it because he realizes that with the core group of Penguins players, aging and being ready to be on their way out, that he would be willing to be traded in order to bring back a plethora of young prospects to try to help the rebuild of the Penguins. It's a decent idea, but at the same time, you're just like, there's no way. How could that possibly be true in any way, shape, or form to possibly see Crosby be traded from the Penguins, especially at this point?
Yeah, I think it was Darren Dreger with TSN that had brought it up in radio appearance, and Darren Dreger, he's very well connected. He's a very respected reporter with TSN. I mean, I follow him on Twitter. I use a lot of he's always like right on the money usually with his stories, but with this one, it almost seemed like I don't know. I don't want to say he made it up, but I think he was putting himself in the shoes of the Colorado GM or something. He was like, yeah, that would make sense to try to get Sid. But when you think about Sid, we talked about the superstitions earlier. Mm-hmm. This guy has to eat a sandwich at the same time every game. He uses the same jock strap that he did when he was in Bantam, and he still has to have the equipment manager keep re-putting it together, replacing different parts, but he still has to keep the same one. This guy is super superstitious, and there's just no way that I could see him leaving the Penguins because of that. He's just not a guy that likes change. He likes to wear the same hats. Sometimes you see him interview, he has all white stuff all over his hat, like it's all sweaty.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to change hats. Like it's just, so, maybe at some point down the line, maybe if there's a situation where the Penguins, they're really bad and Sid just doesn't feel comfortable, with the team and the direction, and he wants to win a cup. I mean, maybe, I guess that could be a possibility, but he has consistently said ever since he signed like the long-term contract that he did, that he wants to finish his career in Pittsburgh. And we know that Mario wants this as well, because he saw what happened with Yager. I mean, I think they had wanted everything to work out where Yager stayed in Pittsburgh as well, but then things went sour. The Penguins fans were booing him when he was on other teams. Like, I don't think Mario wants that. And Sid also lived in Mario's house for a number of years, and they have a great relationship. And this rumor, it came at a silly time too, because it was right when Brian Burke and Ron Hextall came in. And do you really think, Brian, that when they came in, that the first thought would be, hey, let's trade Sidney Crosby? Like, does that sound like a good idea?
As soon as we just come into the, make our way into the team, let's trade away the superstar of the league and the franchise.
And Brian Burke too, he alluded to it. He was the Anaheim GM at the time of the lottery, and so he came in second the year that Crosby was drafted. So he almost had Sid. And now that he has Sid, let's just get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, and I'm not attacking Darren Dreger by any means. I have a lot of respect for him, but I think you need to talk to more people in Pittsburgh and part of Sid's camp, because I don't think Sid would ever want that. And I guess Darren didn't say that Sid wanted that, but just bringing up the possibility just didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time. And if you're the Penguins, I mean, Sid sells you tickets regardless. Like if they did trade Malkin and Letang, if Sid's still there, you're still selling out every game, not that I want that to happen for those guys to trade, but at the end of the day, Sid will always put butts in seats. And he's a guy that I think everyone wants him to see retire as a Penguin. And I honestly think he wants to as well. The loyalty means a lot to him. You saw his ceremony with Rimouski when his number was retired there, and you could see, he was really touched by it. So it was just a weird time to hear that. And it's new for Sid too, like he's always been under contract. Like, he's never been close to free agency or anything like that. So there's never really been a time where there's been like a credible source that's brought up this possibility before. So it's kind of a new thing for Sid as well. And I think he was even brought to a surprise with it too. But I mean, this guy, he doesn't want anything changed unless it's something really, really bad, that he might consider it. But I mean, I don't believe any parts of that rumor.
It's an interesting point, because I think Dreger was going more for the Sid thinking it would be beneficial for the team if he was able to bring back prospects. But like you said, at the same time, his loyalty and his desire to finish off his career with Pittsburgh, I have to imagine, outweighs any other possibility. Even going to play with his best friend McKinnon in Colorado, I still think it just means too much to him. The city of Pittsburgh and the Penguins just mean too much to him to really even consider going anywhere else. I'm with you. I when it first came out, I was like, oh, that's a weird thing to say. It in a way kind of makes sense, but at the same time, if you think about it, it's just like, no, come on.
And I will say that I would be intrigued if, the Penguins were to say, hey, Sidney Crosby, he's available for trade. I would love to see the offers that would come in. I would love to hear that, because I don't really know what his value is. I mean, he's obviously a phenomenal player and phenomenal leader. So I think they would get a lot back, but I don't think it would really be worth it. And I understand the concept of Sid doing what's right for the team by maybe reloading, but at the same time, like, even at his age, I feel like Sid still makes other players better. It's not like Sid has had tremendous wingers over the years. I mean, he's made guys better, like Chris Kunitz. I mean, Sid made his career much better.
Pascal Dupuis.
Dupuis. I mean, Dupuis, he was a throw-in that Hossa trade, and he ended up being a huge part of the Penguins thanks to Sid. So, Sid makes everyone around him better. And if you remove that, that kind of, you get rid of that culture in a way. I'm not saying that Malkin can't do the same, but Malkin's a little bit of a different player than Sid is.
Yeah.
They're just different styles. Malkin's more of a east-west guy. He's more finesse, whereas Sid is just, he works really hard. He's kind of a grinder. He battles like, he's always been successful with guys that can give him space and have speed. So, as long as you guys if you have people like that, like a Brian Russ, like I remember when Russ came up, he didn't really do too much, but then all of a sudden when you put him with guys like Malkin and guy like Crosby, I mean, he made a huge difference when he came up in 2016. So, he makes guys around him better. And I think that's something we need to consider here as well. If you remove that, there's no guarantee that, Malkin or whoever is in that spot can do the same. Right. So, it was just kind of a weird rumor. I get that Sid is loyal to Pittsburgh, but I just, I don't see him going in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see it happening, but you never know. You never know. Sports are crazy, but at the same time, it's one of those things that you just got to kind of laugh at and say no, and just maybe cross your fingers a little bit, like that really better not be true. But all in all, whether you love Crosby or whether you hate him, whether you're jealous to not have him on your team, it's been an incredible 1,000 games in the NHL for Crosby, and it was great to see that he was celebrated, and he should be celebrated as already one of the greatest players of all time. So, awesome milestone, awesome tributes. Good to reflect back on his career so far. And just a lot of fun, a lot of good moments, a lot of good memories, and hopefully looking forward to more.
Yeah, maybe another 1,000 more, huh?
Yeah,
that would be something. But absolutely, I could see Sid doing the Yager route. The way he takes care of his body, he could definitely play a lot more years. I don't know as many as Yager, but he's without a doubt. I think he's definitely in the conversation of top 5 players in history. Yeah. I know that might be a big statement, but I strongly feel that he definitely has put himself in the conversation there. Yeah. There's a lot of, especially given the era that he played in, it's a little bit different than it was like in the 80s, and the goalie pads are huge. The goalies are a lot bigger. The game's a lot faster.
Defense is better. Yeah.
Right. So, it's been great. It's been cool to see him. And he does have a lot of haters for sure. But I bet you if you would tell them, hey, if your team had Sidney Crosby, how would you feel? And they would love him. So, when I was younger, I was kind of the same way with Ovechkin. I feel like early on, like in 08, 09, those years, a lot of Penguins fans didn't like Ovechkin, but over the years, I've really actually learned to respect Ovechkin and his accomplishments. And there's always that rivalry there, but man, when you look back, he's by far the greatest goal scorer of our generation, and it's not even close. So
it isn't.
You have to, you kind of have to put the rivalry aside and just think like it's a pleasure to watch both of these guys at the same time, and just the impact that they've had on the game. It's just been tremendous. No doubt.
Absolutely. Now, with the kind of the status of the NHL right now, I guess we did have a small handful of some COVID cases going on in the NHL, but nothing terrible. A few games got postponed. I know the Penguins had, or not the Penguins, but with the Penguins, we're supposed to play a couple teams that had some cases, and the games had to be postponed. But overall, I think it's been okay, right? It hasn't nothing crazy enough to warrant any kind of huge change to rules or any kind of like thought of pausing the season or anything crazy like that. It's just been team by team. We need to take a couple days or a week to just kind of keep everybody separated and let it work its way out.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I think I give the NHL a lot of credit for the bubble playoffs. I don't think they had a single COVID case during the bubble, which was great. That was really cool. And, I think that they kind of set the bar high with that. Obviously, would you have liked to have seen it again? Maybe, but I understand, they're in a little bit of a different spot than the other leagues like the NFL, and they don't have as much money as some of these other leagues do. And I know that they're hoping to get fans in the buildings at some point. And, I get that. But I think that For the cards that they've been dealt, I think they've done a pretty good job. I mean, we have had a number of games rescheduled, but we've seen that happen with watching the Steelers in the NFL. We know a thing or two about that, but we've seen that.
Yeah.
March is definitely going to be a tough month for a lot of teams. I think the Penguins play 16 games in March, which is a lot of games.
That's a lot. Yep.
So it's definitely a condensed schedule in that respect. But I think, they've done a pretty good job. There haven't been many outbreaks or anything like that. I think they've done a pretty good job at containing things. And this is a tough job. I mean, I don't envy the people that have to make these decisions on the scheduling and all that. It has to be very difficult to weigh the pros and cons. Obviously, they want everyone to be healthy and not get COVID-19, but also there's a business side as well, and they want to make sure the league is still functioning and they're still able to go forward. So it's definitely when you put yourselves in the shoes of those people, it's definitely a tough decision. But I think the NHL has done the best that they could, and it's hard. The bubble was hard too because everyone was away from their families, which is also tough. So at least the players are now able to see their families and things like that. But there are protocols where they can't be going out. They kind of have to stay in the hotels if they're on the road, stuff like that. So I think all in all, I think the NHL has done a good job, and the fact that they were able to give out the Stanley Cup last year to the Lightning and go through this year with, they've definitely had to reschedule some games, but it hasn't been anything too crazy. And hopefully that stays, it stays that way, because I do feel like, with more vaccines coming out, we're starting to get there. So hopefully things will continue to go smoothly and we can crown another Stanley Cup champion in 2021.
Crown the Pittsburgh Penguins as champion.
Yes, that would be ideal. Got some work to do there, but that would be nice.
Absolutely. I like I said, I don't think anything's been too groundbreaking as far as COVID or any type of issue. And I think it really comes down to the players and coaches and everyone, all the whole staff just buying into do what I need to do to keep everyone safe and just follow protocols and just do what I can and we'll be able to continue playing. And I really that's just the way, and it's kind of just the way it has to be. You just got to buy in and just do what you can and hope that, nothing happens. But it's gone fairly smoothly so far. I know, the bubble situation worked so well in the playoffs last year, but that would have been insane to try to do something like that for a full season. Mm-hmm. So I think the way they set the schedule, kind of just keeping everybody close, and when you go, on the road, you're there for a couple of days, and just just limiting the amount of travel and everything. I think it was a good way to go about it, and I think it's worked so well so far. Mm-hmm. So like you said, hopefully it continues.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, the realignment has been interesting too, just seeing the different divisions and I feel like we've been playing the Islanders and the Capitals for a month now, and we have. That's actual fact, I guess, because that's all they've been playing lately. So it's been kind of cool to see them play kind of the same teams. It was always fun though to play the other teams like in the West, like to see McDavid and that was always fun. But it's kind of cool to see the rivals a lot more, and it kind of feels like the playoffs in some instances. So
the whole back-to-back games, like playing the same team 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row or 2 times in 3 days, whatever it may be. It kind of has the feel of like a series, a playoff series where you're playing the same team. You get to scout them and realize what they did this game, how you can change it the next game, and instead of worrying about a new team. It's definitely been interesting to see.
Yeah. The standings are pretty tight, and it'd be weird because we have the chance of having like an Eastern Conference team against an Eastern Conference team in the finals this year, which that may never happen again. So it's kind of interesting with the possibilities that we will see. And the Canadian division is kind of cool, how all the Canadian teams are together. It's definitely not the best division by any means. There's some teams. Poor Matt Murray is getting lit up in Ottawa, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So speaking of standings, I guess we'll just go through the standings a little bit real quick to kind of see who's doing well, who's doing not so great. You just mentioned the Canadian division. Toronto actually is leading that division.
Good year.
16-4 and 2 right now. So they've clicked. Matthews, is he still? I think he was leading the league in goals. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, him and Mitch Marner have been unbelievable this year. They're putting up astronomical numbers. I mean, it's crazy. Like I think Matthews and McDavid are potentially on pace for 50 goals in a 56 game season. Like that's wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's definitely clicking. It's early, we've definitely seen this before with them, but I think Toronto's definitely encouraged, and yeah, Matthews does lead the league in goals with 18. McDavid has 14. So they've definitely had a pretty good year so far out there in Toronto.
Yeah. Then you got Edmonton following them, obviously McDavid and Draisaitl out there in Edmonton still continuing. I believe they're 1 and 2 in points, so that's just never changes with them too. They just continue to put up points in Edmonton. Then you got Winnipeg, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, and then like you said, Ottawa struggling. You kind of knew. I mean, the last couple of years, it's been brutal on them. Just nothing going right. And you kind of feel bad for teams that just continue to struggle year after year. In all honesty, I don't want to see any team have so little success year after year. It's tough to see, but I guess somebody's got to be there.
Unfortunately. So. Ottawa's. I think eventually Ottawa will be a good team. They have a lot of young players, and I think in the next couple of years, they might see some of those guys take some steps. But yeah, they're Matt Murray definitely does not have a good team in front of him right now, and it's definitely showing.
Then we've got the Central Division where the reigning champs, Tampa Bay Lightning, are leading that division, 14-4-1. So we got some teams out here that are doing pretty well off the start. 14-4-1. That's a good record. That's a good record to start. Then the big surprise, I think, for a lot of people was Florida. Florida's tied with them in points, and I don't think a lot of people expected Florida to make a big jump. But they've been doing well.
Hornquist has helped. He's definitely been a big part of it.
Hornquist has definitely been a huge part. The former Penguin finding his way back. Finding the way on the scoring sheet and doing well in Florida. Yeah, absolutely.
He leads them in goals, 9 goals. So.
Yep. And they've got some goal scorers down there too.
Yeah, Barkov, Huberdeau, they got some good guys. That's a good team down there. So definitely don't count them out. I do think they lack some of the experience that the other teams have, but they definitely have some young talent there for sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the reason why people haven't really talked about them is they haven't been there. They don't have those guys with that playoff experience. But like you said, they've got talented players. They just need to continue to put it all together and they'll hopefully see their way into the playoffs this year and see how they do.
Yeah. And Hornquist brings, some of those intangibles too, just the experience and winning definitely 2 cups. And he's definitely a great leader. He's a loud guy for sure. That was a great trade for Florida. I thought it made a lot of sense to bring Hornquist in, and Mike Matheson has really done some great things offensively. His defense is definitely, he struggles a little bit in that particular area, but in terms of the Panthers, I think Hornquist has been a fantastic fit, and I think it maybe lit a fire for him too, because I know that I don't think he was expecting to be traded, and he may have thought that the Penguins didn't believe in him anymore. So he wants to prove everyone wrong, and so far he's done that.
Yeah, I'm sure, absolutely. Then following them, we've got Carolina, Chicago, Columbus, Nashville, Detroit, and Dallas. Dallas was a big surprise that they're struggling at the gate. They were in the conference final last year, right?
Yeah. So they made the finals. Yeah.
Oh no, they did make the final. Yeah,
they were in
right.
the finals.
They were in the finals. Yeah. It was Dallas and Tampa Bay in the final. Yeah, and they last place in their division. In their division this year. So you just never know. You just never know with hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely a surprise. I know but he's been hurt for a while. And a fantastic job last year in goal for Dallas. I mean, he was unbelievable. No one saw that coming. I mean, I think when Ben Bishop went down, people thought, Dallas is done. But Qdobin has done he did a really good job last year. But they just haven't really been able to replicate that success. I know that they do have some injuries. Tyler Seguin has been injured, so he's obviously a big part of their team. Joe Pavelski actually leads them in points right now, which is kind of crazy because he's definitely one of the older players
Right.
on that team. But yeah, unfortunately they've had some issues with injuries, and
Yeah.
I know Jamie Benn's been banged up a little bit, so they definitely have a lot of like star players, but a lot of them haven't. They either haven't performed up to expectations, or they've been out due to injury. So it's definitely been tough for Dallas.
And I also need to mention, obviously they've missed a handful of games at the beginning of the year. They
Yeah,
were one of the teams that had the COVID issues at the beginning of the year, so they do have less games played than a lot of teams in their division.
good point.
The second team, the team above them, Detroit, they've got 7 games difference between them. So even though there's technically last in the division, they definitely still have a handful more games to play. So hopefully they can jump up and figure some stuff out, and try to get their game back. But definitely surprised though still to see anywhere near the bottom at this point is a little odd. But then we've got the East Division, with Washington leading the way, followed by Boston, Islanders, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Rangers, New Jersey, and Buffalo. Poor Buffalo still again.
Oh man, I feel terrible for those fans. They just, I mean, man, when I saw they get Taylor Hall, my neighbor actually here, he's a Buffalo fan, and he was just fired up. Like, man, we got Eichel, we got Hall. Like, this is going to be a great year, and unfortunately, it hasn't gone as planned so far. And that's a great hockey town too. Like the fans there are great. It's just a shame that they haven't really been able to put any good years together in recent memory. I just they just constantly struggle no matter what they do. So yeah, you definitely feel for those fans, and hopefully they can get it turned around.
Yeah. But then Washington leading the way. It seems like they're usually always near the top. Regular season time. Boston's always there as well. Islanders have been great last handful of years. Philadelphia's good. Pittsburgh, I mean, we're right there in the running too. Young Rangers team, a little bit behind everybody else. But the amount of talent, the drafts that they've had the last couple of years, getting top 3 picks. I mean, some of these players, they're going to be scary. I think they're going to be scary. And then New Jersey, I don't know what they're just kind of there every year. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what they're doing.
They need an identity there. I never know what they're trying to do.
They really do. I don't know if they're going to continue to be bad, if they're going to make improvements. It's just kind of New Jersey. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's just they need an identity, and they need to figure out where they're going, who they're gonna model their team after, or who they're gonna build it around and stuff. I guess they did make Nico Hischier their captain.
Jack Hughes is really good. He's having a good year. So I'm not just saying that because his last name is Hughes. He's actually having a good year, but no relation to Jack Hughes.
Oh darn. But yeah, it's another one of those teams that just we're waiting to see what they're gonna do.
The Rangers are definitely an up and coming team. They're with Lafreniere and Capo Caco, and Panarin, the bread man, is obviously a legend already. He's really good. So they definitely have the pieces. I think it's just putting it together and getting that chemistry with those young guys coming in. I think eventually they'll definitely be a really good team. And I think the Penguins, while the Penguins are their window is starting to close, I think it's starting to open for the Rangers at some point. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams face off against each other here in a couple years.
Yep, absolutely. And then last but not least, we have the West Division. The Vegas Golden Knights leading the way. 12-4-1. Fleury's been having a killer year. Absolutely amazing year. And it's so odd because you got those 2 goaltenders in Vegas, and you never know who they're going to play. And Fleury didn't have much playing time in the playoffs last year. They were running with Leonard, and everybody was talking about that. This past offseason, is Fleury going to be traded, or who are they going to go with? What's this and that and this and that? And then here off the bat, they've been playing Fleury almost every game, and he's been killing it. And it's just like, what is going on? But it's working.
Yeah,
it's obviously working.
They were literally, the offseason, they were trying to give him away. I think they were willing to send over salary and pay for a lot of some of the cap space that he would require. And I want to say they were asking for maybe a 2nd round pick or something for him, something like that. And I know that the Penguins recently, when Jari and DeSmith started off the year pretty slow, I know the
Yeah.
Penguins did look into it, but at the time Fleury was lights out. Like, why would Vegas trade him? And
Yeah.
I know Leonard has been banged up a little bit too. So it's just funny how things work out sometimes like that, where
Yep.
Fleury was kind of the odd man out last year, where Leonard was the starter, and it almost seemed like certain that Fleury was going to be traded, or they were even talking about buying him out. Like, it's crazy. And
Yep.
now he's like a Vezina candidate. I mean, I know it's early, but you have to put him in that conversation.
Yep.
And for a guy that's had a tremendous career already, I mean, he's having almost a career season in some ways. So I know it's early, but yeah, I mean, you have to be happy for him. I mean, he's definitely brought a lot to that Vegas team, and
Yeah.
especially with the uncertainty with the new team, and Vegas has just been consistently a contender. It's unbelievable what they've been able to do. I mean, if Seattle is half as successful as Vegas is, then they'll be in good shape.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's definitely odd to see a new expansion team have the success that Vegas has had, but in the same sense, you got to applaud it. I know a lot of people are kind of have the idea like you don't want to see a new team, expansion team, be able to have that much success because it feels like they didn't deserve it, or they just kind of they stole people or talent from other teams or whatnot. But still, you gotta, even though you get all those players, whether or not they're talented or whatnot, you still have to put all the pieces together. You still got to get the chemistry. You still got to put the system in place, the strategies, the plan, the game plan, everything. It has to connect. It has to click for a team to have success, and for them to do it that quickly. You got to applaud them. I think you gotta appreciate the success, whether or not however way you look at it. It's still a good thing for them to be able to put together what they've done so far. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, and you said it great there. Like, you got to put the right pieces in place, and I think another element of this too is those guys that did end up being picked for Vegas. I mean, that probably motivated them a little bit, like saying, "Oh, well, my former team, they don't want to protect me, so I'm going to show them." And I think, there was just a lot of those type of guys, especially that first year. You had guys like
Carlson.
Yeah, like Carlson, David Perron, James Neal. There were a lot of those guys that first year with Vegas, and obviously Fleury has been there since the whole time. But I mean, it's definitely been cool. I think Vegas definitely got better players than previous expansion teams did. There's no doubt. But the fact that they were able to take a team, look at every team, and they got talent from each one. It's definitely interesting, and it'll be cool to see how Seattle does doing the same thing. So it'll be hard to replicate what Vegas did, though, I think.
Yeah, I definitely will. But I'm already a huge fan of Seattle. I mean, they're not even a team yet, but I love the whole expansion concept cool. And the expansion. It's really cool. But yeah, like you said, just getting these players that maybe had a very small role on their former team, like Carlson was like a third line center or something, and you take him and you make him a first line center, and all of a sudden he shines just like that. It's really cool to see. So there's a wealth of talent out there, and sometimes they're getting hidden or just untapped potential, and to be able to bring that out of a person, it speaks to the organization. It speaks to how what your scouting was able to see in somebody, and then just when you get them, just be able to work with them and figure out a way to put his talents to use, to make him a great player. So Vegas doing great. Then we've got Minnesota and St. Louis, Colorado. They're all right there. Los Angeles, the Kings, who've had very bad seasons the last handful of years. They're doing all right. 9-7-4, not too bad. Arizona, Anaheim, and San Jose rounding out that division. So not too much surprise there, I guess. The Anaheim, Arizona, and San Jose have kind of been on the struggling side last handful of years.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise there is Minnesota. I don't think anyone had them above Colorado by any stretch. I mean, I know it's early, but If you haven't watched him yet, you got to watch Kirill Kaprizov on the Wild. He's been saving my fantasy team, fantasy hockey team, to be honest with you. I didn't have a great draft, but that was the one draft pick late that I snagged him, because he's a guy that came over from the KHL, and he's been unbelievable. I mean, he's a rookie. He's leading the Wild and points. And to be honest with you, I can't remember the last time the Wild had a player like that. I mean, I know back in the day they had some players and guys like that, but yeah, it's he's been incredible.
when you think of Minnesota Wild, you don't really think of flashy players so much. It's more team based. You know,
Parise, those type of guys.
Yeah, like just almost not necessarily grinders, but just like more like from top to bottom, like role players, like just these guys that are just good, that buy into the whole team concept. But for him, you know, Kaprizov, he's flashy, he's quick, he's talented. It's definitely a different fit for Minnesota, but like you said, it's definitely been working out for them so far. They definitely made a lot of changes in the offseason. You know, with the new GM, it's Bill Guerin.
Billy G,
yeah, Billy Guerin.
Good for Billy G.
Yeah, right. He came in, you know, near the end of last season, and you know, right away he started making moves, and you know, from the beginning here, it seems like it's working out for them. So awesome story for him. Absolutely.
A lot of former Penguins. They have Nick Bukestad, Nick Bonino, obviously Billy Guerin is the GM.
Right.
Yeah, they have a lot of Ian Cole. He's there now too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he got traded there. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of Penguin connections on that Wild squad right now.
Yeah, when you got winners on your team, something seems to click for them.
Yeah, I mean, I know
experience. It speaks volumes.
Experience is a real thing. Sometimes people, they always want to throw that out like those intangibles, but it means something. It really does.
Yeah. So there's the standings right now. You through maybe a little bit over a quarter of the season. And again, everything seems like it's going pretty well. Some surprises, some not surprises, but it's always exciting. I love hockey. I know you do as well, Andy. And just again, having sports, whether or not there's fans in stands, it's amazing, and it really is bringing back some brightness to our lives. I think, sure. Especially if you are a sports fan at all, just being able to sit down and watch your team or another team or anybody, just seeing some highlights, whatever it may be. It just kind of helps bring back some normalcy and some good moments, some brightness back to your life. So it's been great having hockey back this year.
Oh man. Yeah. I couldn't wait until sports came back. It was definitely hard. I mean, it's, I know there's a lot of more important things in the world, but yeah, man, it was hard without sports. It's like a big part of my life and yours too, I know. So, it's definitely been nice to have it, whether we're at the game or we're watching it from TV. You know, we're just thankful to have it at this point.
Agreed. So, I also mentioned at the beginning of the show that another big event that happened this last week was the Mars Rover that we sent off. NASA sent off to Mars. A long time ago, actually, they sent it. But it landed on Mars this last week. And it's just, if you take the time to think about it, you know, the significance of something like that happening, it deserves a little bit more, recognition as opposed to some of the other stuff we've been having go on in our daily lives right now, like, you know, gender of Mr. Potato Head and whatnot. Let's focus on some of the bigger things in life. Some of the more influential and intriguing things, like this Mars Rover, the Perseverance. Perseverance, Mars Rover. I mean, thinking about all the preparation that I'm sure they had to go through, and then the landing was such a huge event too, because this rover, it's all automated. You know, there's no people involved, and there's no people on the craft or anything. It's all controlled back from Earth. And what makes it even more intriguing is that there's a huge delay for any signal that they're sending, from Earth to this rover on Mars. And so with this huge delay, I mean, the amount of calculations and everything that they had to go leading up to it, for it to be able to land successfully, essentially on its own. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy to think. I mean, the minds that go into something like this, just big brain people, just just these guys and girls that are, I'm sure, just dedicated so much time and effort into making something like this and then planning something like this. I mean, I know I read that um, where is the amount of time that they put like tests and building this and everything. Yeah, the tests were conducted from 2017 to 2020. So they put 3 years worth of tests to make sure that this one event, this how like 10, 15 minutes of landing this thing on Mars, 3 years worth of preparation going into this thing landing on Mars. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's unbelievable. And I'm glad that you brought that up, like the preparation of it, because I think some people just think, oh yeah, you just shoot something into space in a day and it's there in a day. Like that's not how it works. Like
no.
I think they started, didn't they send it in like July, right? I think it took like 7 months to get there.
Yes.
Which is just, it blows my mind that, it takes 7 months for something like that to land on Mars. And you also have to think about too, everything that has to go right. I'm sure in the past, I think I've heard that they've tried this in the past and sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes it rover crashes, or a lot of things have to go right for it to even land. And it takes 7 months to do so, from the moment that you do it. And it's incredible, just to see the technology that we're seeing now with the pictures that came out. The just crystal clear, like they made it look like you were standing on Mars, like you can see the viewpoint. And this is important stuff. I mean, I know that we've been, NASA's been exploring things, I think, since like maybe the 60s or so, but it's amazing to see like the progress that we've made. And by the way, we did all of this in a pandemic. So for all of the people that have been doing this, and props to them. And it was really cool to see the video shot of all of them in masks and celebrating when it landed. And that was pretty cool to see. So I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to everyone that played a part in this, because this is a big deal. I mean, the fact that we're able to see those pictures and just so clear, and this can really help NASA maybe see, was there life on Mars? Is there life on Mars? Like, what if you saw somebody like randomly taking a selfie on Mars? Like just someone hanging out. You never know.
I'm still waiting to see the Transformers pop out. I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah, you see like Star Wars characters or something. Like, you never know. So that's always been a fundamental question. Like, was there life on Mars? Is there life on Mars? There's a lot of questions still to be answered, and I think just getting this information that we have and the pictures, and maybe getting some of the particles on Mars, it can help us, and we can learn from it. And there's always been that question, like, are we alone in the universe? Is Earth the only planet that has life right now? We don't really know the answer to that. So it's an incredible thing. And I do agree, it deserves a lot more discussion than it's gotten, because I do think that sometimes people, they look at this and say, oh, well, we've been doing this for a while, but they don't really look at the progress that we've made since the first time that we did it. These pictures are super clear. And as you said, everything was automated. Like, the technology is just unbelievable. And, it's almost hard to think, like, what can they do next? The possibilities are just unlimited. So it's definitely an exciting time for NASA, and I'm excited to see what else we can learn here in the next few years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the stuff that the rover did on its own on the landing. I mean, it went through just step after step after step, just like, the rockets gave loose, and then it had to correct its course, and then it had to propel down, and then it had to deploy its parachute, and again, this is all basically just animated, doing it on its own, essentially. It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy. And like you said, just for NASA to, again, well, maybe they had expectations, maybe they didn't, but again, to just continue to show progression and as a human race, just to continue to seek out, more answers and more experience, just trying to figure out more and more about the universe is amazing. I mean, it's intriguing to see. You keep mentioning the pictures, and some of the pictures are absolutely amazing. I mean, I remember seeing one picture of just colors in the sky, and it was astounding. It was absolutely amazing. But so, to put it all, all in all, it's this rover Perseverance is basically, like you said, trying to seek out signs of past life, whether it be aliens or transformers or anything, but just more, maybe more just microbial, just life, just signs of maybe like water-based or plant-based, life, whatever it may be. Just trying to see what was on Mars, what is on Mars, because we don't know, we don't really know, and it's just absolutely amazing thing to see. This whole mission's just really trying to expand our knowledge and just continue to see what we've got out there. This thing's, I mean, not only did it land on its own, but now as it's going along the surface, it's drilling holes to collect samples. I believe I read that there was a helicopter of some sort, there's a helicopter that detached from it, and it's going on its own doing recon, and it's just like, what? It's amazing, absolutely amazing. It's truly wild. So this thing, Perseverance, it landed in a certain crater, the Jezreel Crater, that has that they found out that this crater has signs that the rocks and minerals that are in this crater could only be formed in water. So their thoughts were that this crater could have had water at some point. So they're trying to determine that. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So cool to see these things that it's doing. Yeah, you are correct. Yeah, July 30th, 2020 was when the vehicle launched, when Perseverance launched.
Yeah, that's wild to think about, like how long it takes just to get there, and I think, and I was reading, I think I read somewhere too, there was a girl that she's been going to like a NASA camp for years, like even when she was really young, and she's one of the ones that is involved with this project. And if there are ever humans sent to Mars at some point, then she might be considered for that. So that was kind of a cool story to read about. And that's a whole nother thing, like sending humans.
Right.
But I don't know if that'll happen or not. Obviously, there's a lot of questions whether, could Earth potentially like contaminate Mars, and could Mars contaminate Earth? There's those questions as well. And we've seen COVID-19, how that's impacted just the whole world. Could you imagine a whole planet being impacted by that? So this is big stuff we're talking about here.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of work to still be done, but it's still great to see the progress. And it'll definitely be an interesting story to follow, the next decade or so, or even beyond that too.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, this machine is just loaded with instruments and cameras, and I'm seriously just fascinated by the amount that went into this whole project. But just some more little facts that I was reading here. So this thing, I mean, this thing's heavy. It weighs 2,260 pounds.
Wow.
Which think about, though, is less than a car.
Yeah.
At the same time. Right. So it's heavy, but it's light. I mean, to go through an atmosphere, they had to have certain things, and it's just how big is it? It's about 10 feet long, 9 feet wide, 7 feet tall. So
wow,
it's
a big one.
It's fairly big. Yep, it's fairly big. But so we're making huge steps for mankind, and just again applauding those who put the time and effort into building this thing, preparing this thing, going through the tests, seeing it through the landing, and then still doing the work to collect samples and make its way across the surface of Mars and continue to see what they can find. It's just really, really cool. Really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. Kudos to everyone that was involved in that, because that's not an easy thing to do, just to get it to land on Mars. Like that alone it's a project in itself. The fact that they were able to do that and get the pictures and get the particles, like, yeah, that's just incredible. And when you think about what we can do, just going onto a new planet, getting pictures like that, it's mind blowing, to be honest with you.
It really is. It really is. So, all in all, if you haven't really heard about this or haven't checked it out, do so. I mean, it's so cool. Go check out some of the pictures. Go see what kind of went into it. What's the website is mars.nasa.gov, and you can just see some of the stuff that went into this and what they're doing now. It's really, really cool. So go spend some time doing something like this instead of worrying about other stuff in life that's not quite as important, at least in our opinion, I guess. But it's just, there's big things going on. There's big things going on for mankind, and it's really cool. Really cool to see, and looking forward to hearing more about what Perseverance gathered, what kind of information it gathers, and more pictures and everything. And it's just a lot of fun. So. All right, Andy, this leads us to the best portion of the show, the bright stories of the week. So didn't really have too many submitted this week, but I was thinking about it, what kind of happened this last week, and I thought about how we finally had some better weather.
Yeah, geez.
So I wanted to take a moment and just appreciate and thank Mother Nature for finally giving us a break from all the doom and gloom and snow and rain and ice and everything else that's been the last handful of weeks and months. We finally had some warmer weather, some sunshine, and I think that that kind of helps us, and just kind of brighten up as well. It's just seeing the sun again, feeling the sun, just feeling some warmer weather, and I think it just kind of helped everybody put them a little bit in a better mood, and just kind of brought back some brightness. And so I just just in a little different than normal, I just wanted to thank Mother Nature for giving us a break on and give us some nicer weather. But
yeah, such an underrated feeling, like when you see the sun out for the first time in like weeks,
right.
It's just like makes everything a lot better. Yeah. And even though it was like 50 degrees, it felt like so warm. Like
it did.
It's just funny how that works, because if you talk to someone like in Florida, they have like heavy jackets on when it's 50.
Say you talk about 50, they're like in our winter coats, and us up here, we're like no coat and just walking in a t-shirt.
Get the shorts out.
This is great. Yeah, get the shorts out. Guys, we hit 50, get the shorts, tank tops, break out the pools, open up.
Yeah, let's open the pool up.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just good to see the sun again. Just looking forward to getting some warmer weather, and spring coming up soon. So
those the icicles this year were huge. I had some monster ones here by our townhouse, and when it was warmer, I kept hearing boom, boom, like they kept falling.
Yeah, I was like, what is
that? Those
landed
landed on your head, and that would hurt.
Do some damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I would agree with that. I'm definitely thankful for the weather. It's definitely been a nice change for sure.
Yeah. Whether hopefully it wasn't just a tease though. It wasn't just one of those. It's 50 for a day or two, and then we're gonna have another blizzard here.
Here's more ice and here's more snow.
Here's more ice and snow. Yeah, hopefully not, but whatever. We'll see. Make the most of it. But Andy, do you have a bright story to share with us today?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking about this a lot, and obviously everyone is going through a lot with COVID-19, and a lot of people are struggling getting scheduled for vaccines. I know a lot of people that are really struggling with it. Like it's just a logistics nightmare, waiting in all these lines, trying to get scheduled for a vaccine, the people that are eligible. So I wanted to kind of give this up because my mom is actually, she was the one, she got her first dose of the vaccine, and she's been spending a ton of time helping others get appointments who have struggled. And I kind of wanted to just point that out. She recommended a Facebook group It's called Getting Pittsburgh Vaccinated COVID-19 Appointment Tip Page. It's a Facebook group, and basically all of these people are joining together to come up with tips to maybe get ahead of the line in these vaccines, these virtual lines, just tips to help you get something scheduled. And my mom was actually able to help a number of people, like my in-laws were able to get it. Some friends, even some of my coworkers, she's been trying to help them out. So I would definitely recommend, if you are someone who's kind of struggling with that, definitely take a look at that page, because there are really good tips. And I think it was just kind of inspiring to see my mom just taking a lot of the time out of her day to really help out others, because this is a big deal. And
Yeah.
everyone is everyone's dealing with it differently. We all have our own battles, and there's a lot of people that they just haven't been able to see their family because maybe they're high risk or something like that. So even a little spread of tips online or whatever it is, it can help someone get their life back on track and see their families again. So
Yeah.
this isn't something that's small by any means. And I think I just wanted to point that out. There's a lot of people out there that are really trying to help everyone, whether they know you or whether they don't know you. There's a lot of great good people out there that are trying to help one another and defeating this pandemic that we've been in, and we haven't really seen ever really, like, in our lifetime. So I think it's just been cool. Obviously it's been hard for everyone, but we definitely have seen a lot of people helping each other out, and I think that's something that I just wanted to highlight today.
Absolutely. I mean, with all the struggle and with all the questions that everybody has and concerns and just unknown, again, I kind of touched on last week too. It's just that, unfortunately, sometimes bad situations are what bring the opportunity for people to help others, to share their knowledge or to just reach out a hand to help others. Very good on your mother to do something like that. Like you said, I mean, people have questions about it. They might not know what to do or how to go about it. And for her to step up and just put out what she knows and tips that she, for her to share what she knew, just what worked for her. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, one thing I've been seeing a lot too that I wanted to bring up is I feel like a lot of like drive-throughs, we've been seeing people paying for like let's say I'm in a drive-through, someone will pay for the person behind them their order too. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. And I think that's pretty cool too. Obviously everyone is, we have a lot of people that unfortunately have been out without work, they've been laid off. And, I think we've been seeing a lot of that too, a lot more than we normally do. So I do think that there are, a lot of great people out there that are just trying to help others and even just strangers. So, if, I think that's been a cool thing too, is just to see people helping out in other ways, even like at the grocery store. I've seen that a couple of times where, someone will pay for something for if maybe someone, for example, it was their order was like maybe like $10 more than what they had, someone picks up the rest of that $10. I've definitely seen that. So I think it's good to share those things because there is a lot of bad things happening right now, obviously, but there is a lot of good things happening too, and we definitely need to recognize that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the pay it forward one has been a huge one. Great to see something like that. You just never know. You never know what people are going through. Mentally, physically, financially, anything. You just never know. And to take half a second or just a little chunk out of your wallet to potentially change somebody's day, somebody's week, somebody's year. You just never know what it's going to mean to them. And that's been the whole thing here that we've been trying to portray at Bright Connection, just trying to make a difference whatever way we can. As it could be as little as just continuing to smile at somebody that you pass. I know we can't really necessarily see the smile, but you can kind of tell by their face and their eyes, and just say hello, and just anything, any little thing. You just never know how much it helps. You just really don't. And it's such a simple thing that we can do, and it just puts you in a better mood. It puts them in a better mood. And it's gonna help the morale of us as people. It's a great thing. It's such a simple thing.
Nice.
And I love seeing and hearing people that are doing that on an everyday basis. And that's why I love sharing it. I know it's making a difference, and I know it's a huge deal to some people, little things. So
Yeah. I mean, you talked about it, seeing the sun, like that's a small thing, but it really improved, our morale when we saw that
right.
here in Pittsburgh. And, it's the same thing with people. You don't really know what everyone's going through. And I think empathy is a big part of it. We definitely, as humans, need to make sure that we're trying to learn more about each person, learning what they're going through, and don't assume things because we don't know what everyone is going
Right.
through. And you're right, like just saying hi to someone, or just having like a small talk, that could really boost the confidence and the morale of someone, and
Yep.
put them on a path where they want to be.
Yeah.
It can definitely, and this right now with like COVID and everything, it's definitely a hard time, so people definitely need those boosts. So
Yeah.
anything that we can do to help anyone, whether it be financial or not financial, just talking to someone, whatever it is. There's a lot of opportunities. And like you
Yeah.
said too, it could be something simple. Like it could be a 5-minute, 15-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be like this gigantic thing that some people think it has to be like that. It could be just something real quick,
Yep.
that could make a huge impact on someone's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just being
Yeah.
understanding towards people. If somebody's in the grocery store causing a scene, maybe they just are having a terrible, terrible day. And instead of, firing back at them, maybe just talk to them and say, hey, how you doing? Do you need some help with something? Do you need to talk, anything? You just never know. So just be
No.
understanding of people, be kind, be bright, and we'll get through this tough time. We'll continue to push forward toward a brighter time, toward a better time. So, all right, I think that about wraps it up, Andy. Once again, I appreciate you joining me today. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good insight on Crosby and the NHL, and I'm glad we got to touch on Mars for a little while too. Just talking about that and how amazing that is, and then obviously thank you to you and your mom. Thank you for sharing that story, and good on your mother for doing that as well. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an honor. Like I said, I definitely enjoy listening to the podcast, and it's definitely you have a great message and bright connections. I love the title too. How you have the B and the K, and
Yeah.
you just need Burger King now. They need to sponsor this podcast.
Yeah,
You'll be all
right.
set.
That
So
will be. Yep. Yep.
so,
Yep.
but no, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on, and it's been
Yeah.
awesome to reconnect with you too. I
Yeah.
know it's been a while, and who knows? Now we live close to each other, so we'll
Yeah.
have to
Right.
do something sometime.
Crazy. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure, obviously, as always, to check us out on social media, on Instagram, Twitter. If you check out, if you watch on the YouTube, wow, I sound like I'm 50 years old. Check out YouTube. Hit the like, make a comment on what you thought about the show, and then obviously be sure to subscribe. That helps out more than you know. And be sure to share. Share, by word or by social media yourself. Share Bright Connections, and then obviously be sure to go check out Andy's podcast as well. Let's Be Real. So go check that out as well. And then as always, have a wonderful, wonderful, bright week. Do something nice for somebody, and continue to just share the brightness with anyone you can. And we'll see you next time, guys. Take care.